Hi there, and welcome back to leg 4, and I think this will be the final leg of my circumnavigation around Anglesey, and it should take me all the way back home again. Well, it's a lovely day and the sun's shining. There's a force 5 or 6 blowing down. We're going to be unfortunately motoring into it, so I won't get much sailing out of that, but we do have a bit of a blessing. We've got 2 to 3 knots of tide with us coming this way. That will make a wind over tide situation, but the straits only normally gets to a chop, so we shouldn't have to worry too much. It'll appear in a minute and it'll be a bumpy little ride. It's a warm day and plenty of people seem to be out here, making the most of it and enjoying it. I could, I suppose, join in and start tacking down the straits. I'd have the tide with me, which would be a bonus, but I'd be against a bit of a chop and a bit of a strong wind, and that would actually slow me down quite a lot. And I've got a time gate to make at the swellies, and I think I've got a little bit of a tacking issue as well. I'll explain some of them issues in the next video, when I do try and attempt to have a little race, but not very well. Now that I'm out and I'm in openish water, it's time to get those fenders in and any lines that are about. And as you can see, the little chops about us, the wind over tide chop, not much in the way of weather, but it certainly shakes things up, so you've got to keep on your toes. Even with this little chop, she's still a good platform to work on, and the deck's quite flat at the moment because we're not heeled obviously, so it's easy to collect everything up and get everything sorted out. There is a few places down here the chop gets a bit bouncier and you'd have to hold on, but we're not too bad at the moment. Also, the engine's only idling in gear at the moment to make sure we've still got steerage, because the tide will take us most of the way down here at 2 to 3 knots anyway. And we've got plenty of time to actually get to where we need to get to, which is our tidal gate, which is the swellies. And I do like to normally get there a little bit handy, so hopefully when I get all these fenders in and all these lines in, I can open the engine up a little bit. The idea of keeping the revs down was to stop the boat bouncing too much and to stop too much spray being made, so I could probably get back to the cockpit still dry. Still got quite a bit of tidying up to do, so I best get on with it. Well, I got more fenders out than I would normally have out, but that's because it's not just been one side of me I'd needed to fend up. One side of me, my starboard, was on the pontoon, and my port side obviously was fended up for boats coming alongside me. HRM that was alongside me, well, he don't carry many fenders at all, so really you have to fender up for him. Right, that's all the lines and all the fenders back now into the boat, so all I've got to do now is shove these revs up a little bit and let's start making our way. And as you can see, we're making a bit more spray on the bow now that we've got a bit more power on, and that's what I was avoiding while I was tidying up on the side decks. It's alright once you got everything back to cockpit though, because I tied them on the back rail, which I normally do. The cockpit stays quite dry even when the spray's kicking up. Although I can say the camera's mounted at the back and I can see the spray's actually making its way to the camera lens now. The pitch of these waves gets to the point where it tries to stop the boat from making forward motion. Takes a knot or two off before it picks back up again. There seems to be a boat trying to tack down the river, and I'd have thought he'd have been able to, but he's been back and forward, back and forward, back and forward on the same tack more or less as I've been motoring down. So I think his next tack's going to come pretty close towards me, so I'll go round his stern if the time comes. Too late, he's already throwing in his next tack, and there he goes. Well, he's going to be at it for a long time, I'm sure. Now, there's a few boats going this way, and there's a few of them got the mainsails up. That's not too bad if you think you're going to get a sail out of it, but to put your mainsail up for any other reason, it's just a lot of noise when you're motoring into 20 plus knots of wind. And I actually don't think it does the stitches in your mainsail any good whatsoever. Maybe the flogging's just got the better of him, because now he's started to tack with it. I dare say it's motor sailing, but there you go. We've got 28 knots, but then we've got to take off 5 or 6 knots anyway, so about 22, 23 knots of wind we're going into, and we are more or less going into it. If you got all day, this can be fun sailing, but I need to make the swellies. Exiting the Swellies, it seems to be just as windy, and there seems to be a little bit of a lump here as well, although I thought there might have been less, because the current isn't running as fast. Maybe there's a little bit more wind here than there was on the other side. It's certainly got a big opening to bring it down. A bottleneck like the land is ahead of us can often speed the wind up when it gets to the tight areas. And maybe, just maybe, that's what's going on here. Anyway, Puffin Island, I hope to get a sail. The couple on this 23-foot Virgo Voyager, I think it is, are having a fun time. The waves seem to stop them quite a lot, and it keeps them bouncing. They don't seem to be getting very far very quick, but I bet you they're enjoying themselves. They pack quite a lot into the 23-foot of a Voyager as well, and I think they've got a bit more bumpy water ahead of them to go through. This double master behind me coming up, very nice little boat in very nice condition. Well, not so little, eh? She's called Vilma. She lives just down the way, Port Penryn, and I think the owner who owns this boat runs a business repairing other boats, wooden boats that is, in Port Penryn. She is in beautiful condition, and it does get round a lot and doesn't notice any bumps in the water at all, unlike our friend here on his Virgo Voyager, who seems to be finding every bump there is just at the right wavelength for his boat. I'm just checking the camera still on. I get so confused with it half the time, whether it's on or it's off or it's off or it's on, and I always miss the things I want, so always having a little peek. It hasn't got a screen, it's just got a flashing red light when it's recording. Well, it looks like I'm catching up with Mark on his golden gaffer. Some good history to a golden gaffer. First of all, the man who designed it, Roger Dongray, he designed the shrimper. Look at the lines. It's almost like it was a bit of a forerunner for the shrimper, but that wasn't the purpose of his design at the time. He wanted a boat that would take him and his missus on holiday, and I think he sailed the channel in it and went round France. I'm sure I can remember reading in an article somewhere. We're just coming on Beaumaris here, and the racing's on. There's nearly always racing on at the weekend. It's a very strong club. I think most of the boats are Fifes, but the one designs or another. Nearly everyone I see, though, is in really remarkable condition. I'll have to make sure I don't spoil the race here. I think I need to be going behind everybody and just keep my eye on them. They're everywhere, though. I haven't worked out which one's the lead boat yet, which one's at the front and which one's at the back. I think they're almost a circle, so it could be anywhere within the pack. You'd have to sit there and study it for a little bit. I don't know how many laps they're doing. It looks like they're sailing from the anchorage in Beaumaris down to Friars Bay and back, and maybe using the end buoys by Friars Bay as marks. They're out in all weathers. I don't think these boats reef, so everything's up in all weathers. They fly the spinnakers in all weathers. He's got a set of reefs on his. Not many do have those, so he can pull a slab in at least. I'm sure racing on a regular basis is good for the heart, keeps it pumping, and I'm sure it's good for the mind, because you need the two of them to be working together when you're bouncing around like this. I'll bet you these guys are dead happy when a fishing boat goes past and gives them a nice wake. Just look at the concentration going on between these two. It's man and machine at its best, isn't it? But it's not really a machine. It's man and nature at his best. Almost looks black and white, this shot, as the weather's getting a little bit bleaker and a little bit greyer. The colour in these boats, though, still stands out. And they won't be happy with themselves with that floating round like that. And look at these three. Who's stealing whose wind? Seems to be very cutthroat racing, this. Well, I've got a few more boats to slip behind along here, and then I think I'm actually past the back of the pack. Or at least I'll be past what I think is the end of their course. So I think maybe I won't have that much to give way to in a minute. This one coming up here, number 34. Come in, number 34. I think 34 is the last boat that I'll be after to slip behind, and as soon as I've cleared him, I think I'll be putting the whole pack behind me. And here she goes, cutting her way through the water like a knife going through butter. What a lovely design. They make me feel a little bit like I'm missing out. I've motored all the way from Carnarvon to here at the moment, and I was thinking I've got to get to Puffin Island before I want to put my sails up and have a little bit of a sail on the way back. Well, there you go. They're all behind me. That's the end of the racing. I'm just connecting the ratchet here. The ratchet, so when you bring the mainsail in a bit, it doesn't want to go back out again. There's not tons of wind, but rather than spilling it, I'm going to try and use the mainsail. So I'm going to reduce it a little bit and see if it'll help with the weather helm. I'm going to wind a bit of it in now by hauling on the reefing line. You can see the clew of the mainsail starting to move up the boom. When I've taken enough in, I only have to pull on the outhaul and she'll flatten back up again. Hopefully this will move the centre of effort a little bit further forward and allow me to get a bit of drive out of the main as well. I'm watching to see if the speed increases, but it doesn't seem to at all. A futile exercise maybe. The boat seems to be going well enough, or it looks like it's going well enough, but I just know, it just feels like there's more there to offer. This is the point of balance that I'm not just happy with when she's going to windward. There's something just not right here. I know the boat's moving, but there's something not right. This is absolutely fine, don't get me wrong, for cruising, for just passage making and going from A to B. This is perfect, it's comfortable and it's getting there. But there's another point to sailing which I enjoy as well, and it's the bit where you tweak. You just pinch a little bit more out the sails and you can feel the boat give you that little bit more. That's the sort of rewarding bit that I can't find at the moment. I can still say the boat's going well, or feels like it's going well, but then I can still see Firecrest catching me up. And I know Swallow's a cruising boat and not a racing boat, but still, if you try hard enough, you can pinch a little extra out of any boat. I think now that I've planted the seed in my own head, because the car's at the end of the track and I've still got a bit of loose foot that I can't take out, I sort of know to myself that there's a bit more there that I can actually get my hands on. And I want to get my hands on it now. See, so I'm thinking to myself, I've only got my sails set 85, 90%. And I know I'd rather be near the 99, 100% mark. And that's probably what's chewing away at me. Once I get them to the point, though, that the shape looks right to me and both sails are drawing without backwinding or anything else, and the boat's standing up to its canvas in 18 knots quite happily without any problems, then I'd be happy. But I'm not there yet, so I'll have to wait until I get there to know that that's the limit. But I think that's all for another day now, so I'll leave it with that and I'll examine things when I get back. There looks like there's a ketch motoring towards us at the moment. It just comes into vision every now and then under the foresail there. There you go. He'll be here in a minute, so I need to make sure we're clear of him as we pass. Right, I've picked my camera up. I think I'll get a picture of this other boat when he comes past. Oh, still can't leave that sail alone though, can I? Still, she's munching along like the passage maker she is, pushing her way through the water. Well, there you go. Here's Firecrest coming up close on me now, getting closer and closer. Here's our passing boat underneath the boom now. There she is, motoring along. Pretty looking girl. Looks a very capable piece of kit. Give him a wave, get a wave back. Well, let's get a picture of him. She's almost silhouetted there as she's going into the sunlight. I think my focus is a little bit off as well. And there's Firecrest closing in on me. Buffin Island behind him. There you go, this should be a better shot now. Yeah, he's a bit clearer now, isn't he? Looks sweet, little gaffer coming after me. Won't be long before he's caught me up. And here he is, about to overhaul me, with a big smile on his face, with his sails set beautiful. And she's creaming along. And that's the twitching bit which gives you that little bit extra that I'm talking about. I want a bit of that. As far as excitement goes, you can just look at this hull as it goes through the water and it's absolutely loving it. That boat is having as much fun as a boat can have. One very beautiful gaffer, and it looks like the conditions at this particular moment in time absolutely suit it, because she's creaming to windward. Well, we've not got far to go now, but unfortunately in front of us is a buoyage set and those hills and some shallows, so I think we're going to be moving into the realms of tacking, which should be fun. We keep crisscrossing each other now as we go through the tacks. He goes one way and I go the other, and then he switches and I switch and we pass each other. And we stay fairly close as we're tacking in, but he's ahead of me all the time. And I blame, well, you know what I blame. I blame a little bit of power on that kink there. I think if I could get that out of the sail, it would be a completely different sail. You can see by me flag flying that we're very close to the wind, and yet she's still pulling quite happy, but she could do better. Well, we're just about back now, and that about concludes the fourth leg. So I hope you've enjoyed it, as this about finishes the circumnavigation round Anglesey, because we're in Conway Buoyage. Well, we're almost at the perch, the estuary of the Conway River. A couple more yards, that's Deganwy in front of us, and we'll take a turn to starboard and down the river we go. Okay, I'll see you next time for some adventures. Thanks very much for watching. Bye bye.